Kia ora, Helen Browns here, community love from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to the last Friday of 2022. Whew, it's getting close to 2023. Are you ready for 2023? I know I am. I am making great strides this weekend. I have my to-do list done for this weekend, ready to rock and roll. I've had spanners already thrown into the works. But welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1248. What have you accomplished in 2022? I was looking back over the year and thought, wow, I've actually done a lot. I have challenged myself. I have learned a lot of stuff that I didn't even think I would ever understand. I have, I've done a lot of different networking things, whether they were events or meeting one-on-one with people, most of it virtual. I did have a couple of in-person meetings. What else have I done this year? I have learned about crypto. I still don't understand it, but I have a very basic knowledge of it, but I still really don't understand it. But I learned about NFTs and how to create digital art. So that was a new thing, and so exciting being able to create digital art. And then I learned a new step on that one. If you go to this site, you can actually mint your NFT, and you can either sell it or just leave it there, but it's minted to you. So if anybody uses that picture anywhere, they've got that trail in the blockchain that image belongs to you. And I'm like, that is so cool. So yeah, so I've learned digital art. I've learned how to mint, learned how to create NFTs and mint them. So it's been kind of exciting. I've even sold some of my digital art before I had NFT'd it. So yeah, so some of it's been sold. What else did I learn this year? I learned to pull back and look at the big picture. Instead of just focusing on this little piece here and this little piece here, I got told to pull back. And so I pulled back for a very large shot and created a massive mind map of where I want to see my business in 10 years' time. It kind of scared me a little bit, but at the same time, it's very exciting because I know that it's possible. I know that it is possible. And that's the other thing, is there's been a lot of mind shift going on, a lot of transformation physically, mentally, that has been going on this year. A lot of growth has happened. If I look back at what I've accomplished now, and I'm like, man, if somebody had told me that I had done all of this in 2022, that I was going to do all of this in 2022, I was going to say, yeah, no. Not me. You must be talking about somebody else. But nope, I look back at it and I go, wow, there were a lot of challenges in there, but I got in and got stuff done. So I'm very proud of myself for that. As you should be proud of all the accomplishments you have made as well. Oh, hi, Kathleen. Kathleen is my 7th cousin once removed, who actually lives in Swansea in South Wales. And we actually met through a Facebook group because we have ancestors in common. And there's a guy who's doing a one-name research on this particular part of the family. And I met him years ago when he was still doing a lot back then. He had already done a lot back then. And then I recently met, through DNA matching, met a guy who's in Canada, who's my 7th cousin, and it worked out. And so we worked out. And then it was like a few weeks later, and I got him into the Facebook group. And then a few weeks later, Kathleen and Graham came in, and they are first cousins, Kathleen and Graham. And it turned out that Kathleen and Graham were first cousins once removed to my 7th cousin in Canada. Who knows? I tell you, it is amazing what happens when you're out there and you're looking for things. So, yeah, it was very different. It was kind of cool. I got to meet cousins. I haven't met them physically, only virtually. So, yeah. So happy New Year to you too, Kathleen. May it be super fantastic and sparkling. That's kind of cool. I like that. So yes, I got to meet new relatives this year. That was another one of my accomplishments. Got some new clients in the genealogy business. Got new clients for that. I really pushed myself this year. I've pushed myself, and I was going through looking at, what have I been? What have I done. And so I went all the way back to my calendar January, and I went to SLIG, which is Salt Lake Institute of Genealogy, went to their week-long class and learned all about citations. And if you've followed me, you know how much I hate the citations. But I am learning to accept them because it is a part of my job that I have to do when I am writing about family history. I have to include citations. Where did I find this information? I have to be able to back it up. If I make a statement, where's my proof? And I have to do it in such a way that anybody coming behind me can take that reference and go straight to what I was referring to. So it's kind of cool that way that that we have that there. But then I suddenly realized that, it took me a while after, writing out all these different citations for different things, for magazines, for websites, for books, podcasts, everything. I mean, I've got a book this thick. It's called Evidence Explained. It's this thick, and it's about this long. It's a thick book, and it has a citation for just about anything in there. And I'm just like, wow. And then I suddenly realized, it took me a few months, but I finally realized, well, hang on. Citations is like what we had to do back when I was in high school, and then when I was in the Royal New Zealand Air Force and I was working in the libraries, and we had to create the catalogue cards. And for those that don't know what catalogue cards are, they are cards that are like 3 by 5 inch index cards that have a hole in the bottom in the middle, and that hole is helps it hold in place in the card catalog, because the card catalog, you had to move this great big rod out, find the place to drop this card, put the card in there, and then push the rod back in, so all the cards stayed in order. So if the drawer happened to fall out, the cards would still be there and you wouldn't have to reorganize them. And you could find cards under the Dewey Decimal Number. You could find books by Dewey Decimal Number. You could find books by the author, the title, the genre. And when I'm like looking at citations, I'm like, it takes me flashes back to the library days when I was creating these catalog cards. So that made it a little easier to understand how to do citations after that. When I made that connection, it's like when I first learned about Brad and I first bought Cruise Planners back in 2008. We bought a Cruise Planners franchise, and we had never been on a cruise, neither of us, but we're selling cruises. And we were selling cruises for 18 months before we went on our first cruise. I think it was 14 months. Hang on. We signed the paperwork in August of 2008, and we took our first cruise September 2009. So we've been selling cruises for 13 months at that point. But I had said before we went to our franchise training, which was March of 2009, I got stuck into all the cruise lines, and I went and did all their online classes and everything else. And as I was learning, I'm like, hang on. Because at the time I worked for Marriott International. Marriott International has a whole bunch of different brands of hotels. Not as many. Back then, they didn't have as many as they have today, but they had a few back then. I'm going, oh, this cruise line has the same audience, the same marketing area that they're targeting as this particular hotel brand. Well, I know the hotel brands, and all these ships are floating hotels. Well, heck, that's made it a lot easier. It was like, okay, so this hotel here attracts this people. Which cruise line attracts the same crowd of people? These ones do. Boom, match, done. We're good. So it suddenly had everything clicking, and I was able to relate it to something I already knew, which suddenly made the learning curve go from this to just a little more stretched on that curve piece. So it helped a lot that I had that hotel background at the time as well. How did I get onto that one? I have no clue. You'll have to forgive me. My brain's a little fried right now. I actually ended up with food poisoning in the middle of the night, and thankfully I had the right essential oils on hand, was able to get everything under control and all that. But when I woke up at 5 o'clock, I was sort of like, I really want to go back to bed. And I thought we were going to get started again, but it didn't. It all calmed down again because I took my oil mixtures and they all helped. And then I somehow got the energy to take Zephy for a walk because I had like zero energy. All I want to do was crawl back into bed. And then when we got back from the walk with Zephy, and I said to Zephy, that's it, I'm going back to bed. So she toodles off and goes and jumps up into her part of the bed and goes to sleep. And I follow her, and I close up out here and followed back into there and just crawled back into bed and slept for 2 hours. Yeah, just over 2 hours. And I'd sent a message off to my client that day that I was supposed to do some work for that morning, and said to her, says, look, I'm feeling sick. I'm going back to bed. And I also had to be on the chat this afternoon. And so I went back to bed, woke up 2 hours later, felt heaps better. Still hadn't eaten anything since the night before. And so came out and went to the old reliable of, I have a loaf of sourdough bread because I make for me personally, sourdough bread makes the best grilled cheese sandwiches. I haven't found another bread that tastes better with a grilled cheese sandwich. But so I have sourdough on hand. So I grabbed a couple pieces of sourdough and made myself a honey sandwich. That's what my mum used to do when we were sick. And because it was the easiest thing for the stomach to digest. And so had that, and everything stayed down, everything stayed calm. So I was like, yes. And later on had my protein shake, and people go, protein shake, blah, blah, blah. It's plant-based. It's completely plant-based. There is no animal products in my protein shake at all. So it's completely plant-based, very easy on the digestive system, and that's worked well. And then I got really hungry. But I haven't been overeating. I've just been having a little bit here and a little bit there, and all stuff that's easy on the stomach and stuff. So do I have any chicken soup? I have a tomato soup. I don't want to do the cheese right now. But anyway, so we're feeling better. We've already done, I've done 3 walks with Stevie, 3. After the nap, I said to her, look, we have to go over to our mailboxes here at the resort, because we'd had 3 packages delivered there from Amazon. For whatever reason, sometimes they use postal service instead of the trucks that come in here on a daily basis. But we went out to go and do that, and there was already a package sitting there. So we threw that inside, and then went over to the mailbox place and picked up the 3 boxes that were there, and came back. And then I promised Zephyr a walk, and so I said, it's just going to be a short walk. Well, we ended up doing our morning loop again, so we got to do that twice today. And after that, I was starting to feel a little tired, and that's when I had my honey sandwich. And then I got on the chat and managed to get through the chat pretty well today. But at the end of the day, I was dragging. It's like, I just want to go and crawl into bed. And it's like Zeffie comes out because it's 5 o'clock, and she's sitting here going, walk, like looking at me like, walk time. I'm like, okay. So had some fruit juice, and we went out for our walk, and we did the whole block, which is the whole of the pet area, which is like a mile. So we managed to walk that whole thing tonight, and we got in here, and I was like, I need to get this done. I need to get out of here. I need to, go to bed, have something to eat, let it settle, and then go to bed. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm only up to January. I just looked at my notes. I'm only up to January. But this year there was the Salt Lake City Institute of Genealogy, where we had to do learning the citations. I did a 30-day health challenge in February. I also did a 21-day manifestation challenge in January as well, and I'm doing the same thing starting this January 1st. That helped me a lot. That manifestation challenge helped me a lot throughout the year. And towards the end of the year, I allowed other stuff to come in, which kind of slowed me down on some of my goals and stuff, but we're back on track. Grandson number 4 arrived in April, so I was happy about that. But I didn't get to meet him till December the 3rd. And that was kind of cool, because December the 3rd came around, and I was over at my oldest stepson's place and playing around with the 3 grandchildren there. And then the middle son turned up with his wife and their brand new baby, well, almost 8-month-old baby. And so I finally got to meet little Benjamin, and he is so cute and so adorable. I have been blessed with gorgeous grandchildren. I will tell you that. And they are the best kids. They have the best personalities. I love my grandkids to death. They are awesome kids. Although living here in Arizona has made it really hard to see them as often as I used to when I was living in California, because I used to go a bit, say, on call to be able to go and babysit for them and that sort of stuff. Being in Arizona, 5 hours away, it's tough. It is tough being away from them. But at one point, Benjamin was being fed and burped and all that, and then his mum took his little jacket off and brings him over to me and just holds him in front of me. And I looked at the jacket, and I comprehended what was being said, but I just didn't understand it. And on it, it had written Big Brother under construction, then had a picture of a digger, and then it said something like construction due to be completed June of 2023. I was like, what? my less than 8-month-old grandson is going to be a big brother. And I'm like, yay. And so grandson number 5 is due on his dad's birthday next year. So that'll be fun to see how close we get to that date. But yes, that was exciting and all of that. So yeah, so happy to finally meet my 4th grandson. That was awesome. He's such a cute kid. Sorry, just grandma drooling there for a little bit. Let's see. I did the Amazon Adventures this year, and these are virtual adventures where you could go to, like, I did Melbourne Culture, where a guy he's a tour guide actually in Melbourne, and a lot of this started during the global pause because people couldn't travel. So tour operators were going, what can we do? And so somehow Amazon and tour operators came together and they created these adventures. I don't know the whole thing about how it happened, but I do know the tour operators in Melbourne got on board and they offered like an hour or 90-minute or 2-hour, based on what they're doing, tour around the local city, around the town, different things. So I did the Melbourne Culture because Melbourne's one of the cities in Australia that I love. I love Melbourne because it's such a mixing pot there. I stayed on Little Bourke Street, and you'd walk out the door and there was the side door into the Princess Theatre. And you'd go down the street and take a right out of the door and go down the street, and across the street was Chinatown. And then you'd go down and there'd be, I think it was like Koreatown next, and then there was Little Greek, there was Little Italy, and there were blocks of these cultural areas which had restaurants with those countries' foods in there. They had stores with those goods and services and stuff. So it was really cool. You could walk a block, and you could walk like about 4 or 5 blocks and go through several different communities, different cultures, and experience them. And they had coffee shops and restaurants and gift stores and things like that there, which was really cool. But if I also went down towards Chinatown, there were on the right-hand side, there were 2 theaters facing each other there. And there was another theater, I think I was within like a block or 2 of like 5 live theaters. We're talking on-stage theaters. Didn't get to see those on the cultural tour. And as it happened, I ended up with the same guy again for the crime and debauchery tour. And that took you into the area, which is where I stayed in the hotel. And so I got to see other pieces there as well, and that I was very familiar with, including he showed one store, and I'm like, I know that store. Why do I know that store? And then he told me the story about the store, and it's the store, and it had all these different cameras just sitting there on the shelf in the window, sitting on like the window ledge in the window, and they were all from different eras. And it was this big window that was there, and he was telling me the story about this, owned by this couple who are now in like their 90s, and they only open the store on certain days at certain hours, and you got to be lucky about which day and which hour it is, but they're only open for 1 hour a week, and it's not the same hour, it is not the same day. I think that they might be like kind of like appointment only if you're there for that, if they're in there for that hour or something. But they service cameras, they sell cameras, and it's a little camera store. It's been there for eons. I thought, that's why I remember that store. And he goes, why do you remember that store? I said, because I used to walk past it frequently and always wondered about it because it was never open. And now I knew why it was never open. So all those years ago when I was in Melbourne for 3 weeks. And then I did this one where I got to talk to this amazing woman in Argentina, and she was doing the secrets of homemade Argentine ice cream. And it was really cool. And it tasted really great because I got all the ingredients, and I sat there and watched what she did and wrote down my notes and everything. And we just chit-chatted backwards and forwards. Yes, we had a language barrier because her English wasn't as great, and I know zip of their language. And so it was interesting. We were teaching each other different words. She goes, what does that mean? And so I tried to describe it in a way that if it was something in her kitchen, I was going to go over there. And she goes, this, and I go, yeah. And she goes, well, we call this whatever it was called. And I go, well, we call that, and what we call it. But yeah, so I got to make the ice cream afterwards. I had all the ingredients handy, and so and it was really good ice cream. But it was interesting because I thought, what a great thing. If you can't travel, these are great ways that you can travel. And some of them are shopping trips. So you can actually have the person go into the store. And the cool part is that all the sales are done through Amazon. So the people at the other end, the people in the shop, the people who are doing the tour, they don't see, you don't give them any money at all. You do it all through Amazon. So it was actually a really cool way to do that. And they had like shopping trips. And they had this one where think it was in Japan. I think it was Japan. Was it Japan? Where they do these pleated bags, and while they're making the bags, you get to watch the process of them making the bags, but the shopper who is with you, your tour guide, will also take you around the store and show you other things that they have, and if you want to buy anything, you let them know, and they ring up the purchase, and it's all done through your Amazon account, which is kind of cool. But here's the cool part. It's done to Amazon. Amazon hangs on to the money until it is confirmed that you have received the goods. Then they pay the vendor. I'm like, that is really cool. So you have some safety there with the purchases and things. Then in, let's see, where we're up to July. I found a mystery book club this year too on Meetup. They only meet on Zooms at the moment, but they meet the fourth Saturday of the month. And they're local here within the Phoenix area, and read some good books with them this year. Let's see. I also did an online class on making raw chocolate, which is a vegan's version of chocolate. And this is going back to cacao powder, and there's no... what were we using in it? Yeah, we did use cream. No, so it wasn't vegan. It was raw. So it was all raw ingredients. And I'm trying to think of some of the ingredients. It's been a while since I've made some. But I did try some of the recipes, and those were really good. And I have access to them all the time. I've got full access to them, which is awesome. Then in July, I did the International Genealogy and Historical Research course, which is done every year around that time. And this year I did intermediate. I did a basic class last week. Yeah, and this year I did the intermediate version of it, which was really good. We had a really good instructor on that, and I learned a lot in that one on how to find clues, what sort of clues to look for in certain documents or certain records or photographs, and how to. There was a little bit in there on dating the photograph, but not a lot. But I know that there is a skill on being able to date a photograph as to when it was taken. So that was kind of cool. So I just think I'd touch on that one. And then, of course, on July 31st, I hit 3 years, 1,096 days of doing Facebook Lives. And it was then on that date, the 31st, that we announced that the Facebook Lives would still go ahead. They would now be before the Dirt Nap podcasts. And they would be streaming live onto YouTube and into my Facebook Family Tree Detective group and onto my personal page. And we would keep the numbering going. And we're going to be bringing on a lot more guests. We have had some amazing guests come on so far. But we're going to be bringing you more in 2023. And I'm going to be my first 2 weeks of the year is setting up guests for the next 3 months. Only because I haven't got to it. I was supposed to do it before the first of the year, but I haven't got to that yet because you'll find out in a moment. So 1st of August, we launched before the Dirt Nap. We finally got all the LLC paperwork done, and so we are now officially before the Dirt Nap LLC. And my genealogy program, the genealogy is under there. The travel before the Dirt Nap Adventures is under there. We've got a whole bunch of resources that are coming and that we already have in place to help you to get things sorted, ready for when it's your time to go, so that those left behind aren't like floundering or having to figure out how to do this, how to do that. Also, one of the other things that we're teaching in here as well is how to do generational wealth, so that when you leave, you've got systems and processes in place that keeps money coming in for generations to come. And so that future grandchildren, great-grandchildren, etc., will be able to inherit from money that you have created in this time and now. We're also looking at investing in, I started investing in silver this year, and got a nice little silver collection going. Kind of enjoy that one. So we've had a lot of stuff going on. And then in September, oh my gosh, September was busy. I had the University of Georgia Summit Sessions for Genealogy. No. Was it? the University of Georgia? I think that's kind of where it was held. Had a summit of sessions there on genealogy, which was different classes. You got to choose which class you wanted to go to. So it wasn't like the one I did in January and the one I did in July, where you're in the same class the entire week with different topics. This was, you could choose this class or this class. Everybody goes to this one. Then you can choose this one or this one. And you got to see recordings of those classes that you didn't get to attend. So which ones did you want to attend in person, and which ones did you want to watch on recording? Then and that was a week. And then the following week, I had the Association of Professional Genealogy's annual convention. And that was really cool because it was from everything else had been talking about genealogy and researching and new tools that were coming out and different ways of doing things, new records that have been released, and, tips and techniques on research, some history stuff in there as well, because you got to know your history, because you got to know what was happening at the time that may have caused somebody to leave this country and go to a different country. So why? And so the Associated Professional Genealogy was very different because we're looking at from the business side of it. From being the professional genealogist, we're now looking at the business side of it. What are some of the legal stuff we have to be aware of? What are some of the standards that we have to follow? Are there changes to any of the standards that we have? And things like that. So there was a lot of stuff that now you're a professional genealogist, let's get the business side sorted out. So that was pretty cool. And then in November, I signed up I did the Boston University, what is it? Professional something or rather center. They had the genealogical principles. It was a 7-week class. We could self-pace it, but we had to have our assessments in every Monday. And that proved a huge challenge. Well, number one, November is my James Bond movie fest month. gotta get the priorities right here. Then there was a lot of other things going on that got in the way of studying. There were nights I wasn't able to, and there were times that I wasn't able to watch the James Bond thing because I had an event on that day, which means I had to make up for study that evening. Or if I was too tired, then I wasn't watching, because if I didn't do my study, I wasn't allowed to watch a James Bond movie. That was my rule. So James Bond Fest kind of ended in December. It got extended a little bit and went into running into my Christmas movie fest. So my Christmas movie fest got started late, and that got interrupted as well. So, it's been lots of stuff going on in the last few months. So I had travel in there. I had events going on. Like the first 5 weeks of the class, I had events going on that meant I got no study. Some were 2 days events, some were 3-day events where I didn't get stuff done. Then Thanksgiving weekend was week 5, wasn't it? I think, yeah. Then I traveled out to California because my niece got married on Thanksgiving Sunday in Malibu. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous wedding. It was amazing. I have never, ever been to a traditional Jewish wedding. I have seen portions included in interdenominational weddings. I have seen some traditions brought in there, but I had never been part of an entire wedding. It was fantastic. From when we arrived to when I got caught up with my nieces, to when the bride came out, which I didn't know the bride came out, and you went and told her what you wanted to be blessed with during the thing, to the guys, to the groom coming out, and it sounded like some sort of haka or football team coming out, whatever, they're working themselves up and everything else, and him coming out and doing the veiling of his bride and then being carried off by the guys and back to their party, to having the procession and having this beautiful card that had the procession on here so we could see it. It even had what some of the traditions were and explained them. So, before the ceremony and then the ceremony and afterwards, some of the traditions in there were explained to us. And then, of course, it was emotional because it was the first time I was back with Brad's side of the family since his mum passed. And it was also the first happy event we had on that side of the family where the family was gathering. Because the last time we were together as a family was when Brad's mum passed. And we got together the day after she passed and had this great lunch together, had a great time celebrating her life, and telling stories and just hanging out. And it was really cool. It was awesome. And that was basically the last time I saw most of Brad's side of the family. And that was the year after Brad passed. That was 2018. So apart from little visits here and there, and then I was traveling the country. Then we got hit with the global pause, and I settled in Arizona. And so, it's been over 5 years. It's been 4 years since I'd basically seen the entire family. So yes, that was pretty cool. And then, of course, the day after the wedding, I headed down to San Diego and got set up there in a hotel, where I was able to spread out with my stuff from the storage and sort through that while doing my class. And I had a 2-day, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, I was in a 2-day event, plus doing my class, plus sorting out this stuff. It's a busy time. And then I had Saturday with the family and got to catch up with my grandsons. And my number 3 grandson I hadn't seen since his third month was March 21st of 2021. I hadn't seen him since he was 3 months old. And then, of course, I got to meet my almost 8-month-old grandson to find out grandson number 5's on the way. So it was a busy day. And then the day after that, I drove back to Arizona. And then that week 6 was sort of like, I have all this time. What do I do? And I kind of screwed myself up there with not getting stuff done that I should get, that I maybe should have gotten done, because I was sort of like, I have no pressure on me. But I did get all my study done, get everything in on time. And then week 7 came in, and it was a 2-week class in 1 week. Thankfully, I had no events on that week. I had nothing on except my work stuff. So, but yeah, it's been a very, some parts of the year I've just sort of like coasted through. Other parts have been very intense. Been trying to keep up with everything. Catching up with family was the greatest thing, to be able to go and spend time with family. It's been, the wedding wasn't enough, but with all the wedding plans and everything else going on, and leaving Zeffie alone for the first time, so I found a family to look after her, and she had a blast with them. She had a great 10 days with them, and so now I've got a place booked in for her for February, when I then go to Tampa for another niece's wedding, and then I come back, and I'm back here in Arizona for like 5 or 6 days before I have to head to LA to get on a cruise ship. So it's going to be my first cruise since December of 2018. So I'm looking forward to that. So there's a lot already on the calendar for 2023, and a lot that is going to be on the calendar in the next couple of weeks. A 7-week course kind of screwed me up a little bit with getting stuff prepped for the next year, but I'm still in there. I'm still prepping for next year. I have stuff ready to go January 1st. Boom. There's stuff ready to go for that. This weekend, I am organizing my closet. I have decided I'm going to do one organization project a weekend. And because I have a 3-day weekend this weekend, because I've got Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, I'm tackling my closet, which includes the drawers. So all the drawers in the closet are going to get tackled this weekend, get sorted through. I have organization stuff already. It's a cute little basket for beside the bed with my bed stuff in there, like tissues, my emergency radio, my Kindle sits in there. And then, I forgot to bring it over, but my remote control organizer arrived today as well. And that's already in place, with the 3 remote controls in there, and my glasses and the pens. My new umbrella arrived, because I do have 2 big golf umbrellas, but they leak. They're old. They've been around for years. I don't even remember when Brad told me he got them. But they're finally going to go. And I've got a nice big purple one, which is supposed to be one of those wind ones where it doesn't get inverted. So I'm looking forward to it. And when it's open, it's 64 inches from tip to tip. So that'll be big enough for both Zeffie and I to walk under there and not get wet. So hopefully she will appreciate the fact that I am carrying an umbrella and not try to drag me off into different directions, because the umbrella will keep her dry. And then today, our new doormat arrived. We finally got a doormat to go at the top of the stairs inside the RV on the vinyl, where I typically just throw a towel down for when we're going out and it's wet. So we actually have one of those dirt trapper mats, and it's actually got a couple of paw prints on there. So I put that down there, and it fits in the gap perfectly. And Zeffie went and sat on it, put her feet down on the step below, and looked out the screen door that was still open to see what was going on. So she likes it. But yeah, so we've got the closet organizer stuff has all arrived. I finally found a paper towel hanger for my kitchen, which is probably, we're just not going to take much to stick up. So that's going to be good. So I'm looking forward to getting all this new stuff in place this weekend and go through a lot of stuff and have some trips down to Goodwill early next week, maybe on Monday. I don't know. They may be closed Monday. But get some trips into Goodwill and that'll be the closets done. Laundry's getting done this weekend. Closet sorting, drawer sorting. Basically, the clothes are be going through, and the storage in the bedroom's going to be sorted as well. So bedroom storage, laundry. That's on my list for this week for my organization part of the week. I don't know what I'm going to do next weekend yet. I haven't decided. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'm exhausted. My voice is disappearing on me. So I just want to wish everybody a super fantastic, sparkling evening. Go out, enjoy yourselves, have fun. Remember, if you are drinking, get somebody to drive or call an Uber or Lyft. So drink responsibly. Do not drive. Have somebody drive you. Have a designated driver, or call an Uber, a Lyft, or a taxi to take you home. Stay safe out there. But have a super fantastic, sparkling. I guess this would be New Year's Adam, since Eve's tomorrow. But anyway, the eve of New Year's Eve. Anyway, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening for our next podcast. Hei konera.